You would have thought that I'd learn from how I handled doing my daily videos yesterday that I should record and try to upload my video before 11 o'clock at night because then it kind of messes up like what the days look like so it doesn't look daily for the uploads. But I'm recording these every day and I'm on the day, recording on the day, posting on the day, and I haven't got to the point to where I'm one video ahead because I feel like I only need to be one video ahead to record it, schedule it for tomorrow, record it, schedule it for tomorrow. So if I am recording at 11 for a day, I can be all right in terms of the every single day mark that I'm trying to get at. So I missed it with the last video because the upload literally took forever, which is fine. So it's the stacking the days, and I am stacking the days, although the evidence doesn't seem to. Well, not it does, but it's for internal, not external. Regardless, today we're talking about comic books. Really, and comic books on multiple levels. And I have it written down here because if it wasn't written down, I would lose the first thought that allows me to go on my rants, my yap sessions. I was watching a YouTube video while listening to. I love that I treat most. You can watch YouTube like people listen to podcasts because there's majority of YouTube videos are just people talking with visuals, but you don't need the visuals to get the information. Like the visuals only aid in the entertainment value, not the getting whatever they're saying out of the video. So a lot of the videos that are more talking heads, I just listen to. And one of the ones I was listening to, excuse me, was talking about just overall the comic books. And what came to my head was the idea that at what point are movies going to start to become so modern to where the inspiration that they're drawing from is no longer actually from comics? And what I mean by that is Doomsday, which is Marvel's next big thing, is something that has a lot of inspirations and you can pull from a lot of different comics and make it into something that's a big movie, a big thing, and put panels to real life or concepts and story arcs and combine them, mash them together to make it into a movie and an adaptation. But the thing about it is, if we're starting to make movies every year that build up, after a certain amount of time, we're catching up. Marvel, at least, is catching up to what's modern. Like, say for instance, I'm not sure when Secret Wars actually was in comics. Let's look that up real quick because Secret Wars is probably going to happen soon. What I don't After Doomsday is Secret Wars. So if we look up Secret Wars comics, comic book series. Oh well, I don't know about this one. This one says 1985. Is there more modern? 2015. So that's interesting as well because there's two eras of it, and I'm not a huge comic book guy. I always wanted to be ever since Mr. Man in my middle school. He's my fifth grade teacher, but I got kicked out of that school before fifth grade, so I never got to really dig into comics. And so it's cool to see that, and that makes so much more sense now because like they have two iterations of Secret Wars to pick from, pull things from, things that people liked, things that didn't, and that's that's cool. But now, what else are we gonna pull from once we hit that mark? Because they redid Secret Wars, so they even did it in the comics. They're pulling back and redoing like things, big events that happen in the comics. But what is the where's the point to where the next big thing happens in comics? And what if the comic book pace isn't moving fast enough to give inspiration to the movies? One of the things I thought about was how the CW, I love the CW, all their DC characters. The Flash started off like all the beginning seasons going through all the different kind of story arcs and things that we know from Barry Allen. And some of the later seasons got into like all the different kinds of forces. And I'm like, bro, where are they coming up with this stuff? Thinking that it was just a show doing it. But that stuff that they were pulling was coming from the modern comics of the Flash. And that was interesting to see once I realized it, that they were pulling from modern Flash stuff because they had literally done everything else. I think they were like season 9 or something like that. And what more stories could they tell? And that's where it gets kind of cool, because what more stories can you tell? But that's what I'm saying. Like, these are comic book characters, but are you in creating an original story that wasn't in comic books? Like the Penguin. The Penguin was, as far as I believe, is original to a TV show. But that is more genre-based stuff. When you're making a mainstream superhero movie, it feels kind of weird to not pull from a comic book, right? Or am I tripping? In my head, that just that makes sense. So when we get to that point to where there's not a big story that people liked that came out in 2025, and now we're in 2040, and we've already ran through everything up into 2015 in terms of putting it on the big screen. Now what do we do? That's interesting to think about. And does that mean that we have to invest more, or somebody has to invest more into the comic book actual buying? Or does that mean that everything that the people in the movies are seeing is predicated by what the people liked reading on the page? It's almost like testing a script in comic book form, and the stuff that worked the best in comic book form, then we bring to the screen, and we know that people will like it, and we know that it's going to be good because they like the storyline when it was in a comic book like that. That's an interesting concept. Like, if that's actually how it tracks, is okay, I make a comic book. They like the comic book. This comic book is known to be a popular comic book. Now we know the elements in that story, the storyline, the way that character was written, this portray of character, these portrayals of the characters, and the animation, not animation, what is the word? Illustrations that are in the book, those influence what goes on to be the movie. But the idea that I think is really cool, just thinking about it, connecting the dots, is that's kind of a cool concept, and that's in part why some of these superhero movies have gotten so big, because some things just work and work well, but it's just how you like how you adapt it. And the adaptation is easier, in my opinion, with a comic book than things are with a book, because the visual elevates, like it goes from visual on page to visual on screen. And then comic books are high dialogue, whereas books are not so much high dialogue. They have a lot. They have to set a lot of the scene in words for your imagination, whereas comic books don't have to do that. So they translate better, and you can proceed. Like the visual mediums is a natural progression, whereas a book, it's more interpretation and it's more subjective in terms of what people think when they read this line or that line. I also wrote that, is there going to be a superhero bubble? Like we talk about the AI bubble and the internet bubble and all these different things. And I know people talk about superhero fatigue and stuff like that, but I don't think that superhero fatigue is really a thing. I think that good movies, good stories are always going to sell and hit if they're good, written good, because it's just the character's just a superhero. That's the only thing different. If the story's good, the story's good. It's just the character's a superhero, and the problems are sometimes going to be more complex because of that. Versus instead of you being a person that has X amount of struggles, or you're the rich guy, rags to riches, or opposite, whatever the story is, it's just a plot device, which is your power or a character trait, just like anything else. But it's cool because they're superpowers, and those don't exist in real life. But just in the same way that it's cool to see humans be portrayed as humans in films and watching real emotions. I think those two go hand in hand. But that was the main thought, and it again, this felt a little weird because I didn't quite remember everything, so I had to look at what I said, but I still feel like I got a good amount on my brain. I'm still trying to work on these daily things and how it feels right. Like some days it feels like, this is what I this is what I need, and this is what I feel like I want out of these videos. And then other days it just feels like this is a task. And I guess that's okay because I'm about stacking days right now. Stacking days has just been what's on my mind. Just stacking days, get it out. And this is my outlet. This is one of the things that I'm working on for what I'm working on it for, and to express myself and to get these ideas out and to be able to speak and connect dots while I'm speaking, to be profound and my connections, which is a good trait. So just like the connection to where, oh, that's interesting that because I'm talking out loud, talking through stuff like as if you were right here, it's interesting that I thought of, had an epiphany almost of the fact that comic book to movie and the realizations I have on that. And then now that allows that thought to be solidified in my brain, and that connection can build upon and deepen into different areas, or that concept can be dug into more in different areas as well. But yeah, I love the concept of comic books. I even bought a lot more comics just to almost like put my money where my mouth is. I say I like comics. I say I like superheroes. I have favorite superheroes, and you put your money where your mouth is. You like these superheroes, you got to buy their comics because that's actually how they get to the point where they get on the big screen. So, although it seems it's almost like a vote. Like your vote matters, just like you buying the comic matters. It's just you hope that other people do the same so that your favorite characters can get on the big screen and get that treatment. So I'm just happy that soon enough, actually, no, I think they delayed it, didn't they? When is Lanterns coming out? Because Green Lantern is one of my favorite superheroes. It's coming out this year, summer of this year is when Lanterns is coming out. So I'm looking forward to that. Just seeing John Stewart, somebody that was one of my favorite superheroes growing up, seeing him on the screen, that'll be fun. I'll enjoy that, but I gotta put my money where my mouth is. So I bought lots of Green Lantern books. I would go grab them right now, but I don't really feel like getting up. Matter of fact, this is the stacking day stuff. Get your ass up. Just get your ass up. Hold on. So put your money where your mouth is. We got War Journal is one of the ones that I thought I would resonate with and like a lot. And then shout out Far Sector again. This is another Green Lantern. She's a newer Green Lantern. Both black. I've been interested in what the deviations in terms of characters like black superheroes and things like that, and blackness in general. I think that it's interesting to see how people portray black people in different elements and in different realms, and the idea of a black superhero is cool, and just going over. Oh, is this even? Hopefully that was still audible. And things like the Image comics and stuff like that. There's some characters in Image comics that I've been interested in and digging into, and I'll buy their stuff too, just to kind of dig into that and how black people are portrayed by black people and how black people are portrayed in sci-fi manner, and how that relates to how I think they should be portrayed, and my personal relation to how they're portrayed. That's just something that I just find interesting. So on all levels, not just in superheroes, but yo, okie dokie. This one's probably gonna look like I skipped a day as well, because, well, actually no, because that's another spill. This one, we're all right. We're all right. We'll get right though eventually.